Tonight, we continue our look at state ballot issues for the November election. Tonight, another controversial question. Should the governor be removed from the pardon and parole process for the state's nonviolent offenders? 2 News anchor Justin Wilfon looks at both sides in segment 2.
8 years later, Catherine Doak still thinks about it every day. Her daughter's violent murder.
He beat her beyond recognition. He stabbed her several times, and he cut her throat.
It began with a business robbery committed by a man who had just been released from prison, where he was serving time for a nonviolent offense.
These people they need to serve the full extent of their sentences.
But it's those types of people some say may get out of prison earlier if voters say yes to State Question 762, which would remove Governor Mary Fallin from the pardon and parole process for nonviolent offenders.
If people really look behind the language about what it means, they won't pass this.
Tulsa County District Attorney Tim Harris and many other DAs across the state say removing the governor from the process would leave the Pardon and Parole Board with little or no oversight.
The Pardon and Parole Board doesn't answer to anybody but the governor. If you take the governor out of the parole process, you have appointed people who are allowing people out of jail.
Oklahoma House Speaker Chris Steele has a much different view. He pushed this question onto the ballot. He says reviewing every nonviolent case takes up too much of the governor's time.
If the governor could sort of focus her time and resources on reviewing the violent cases, I think that we would be much better served from a public safety standpoint, because truly those are the individuals that we need the extra scrutiny for.
But Harris says the nonviolent offenders need scrutiny as well.
Drug dealers, DUI drivers under the influence, child pornographers.
Now, if Mr. Harris or if other elected officials in the state of Oklahoma have a problem with what currently is considered a violent offense versus a nonviolent offense, and that's something that can be tweaked and changed legislatively.
Steele also believes removing the governor from the nonviolent parole process will speed it up, getting inmates out of jail by as much as 6 months earlier, saving the state money.
That 6 months is time that that person could have otherwise been out on parole under supervision and not being incarcerated at the cost of $50 to $65 a day.
But Catherine Doak says she would happily pay that price to keep them in prison and away from people like her daughter.
I would advise the community to vote no. Vote no.
Justin Wilfon, 2 News, works for you.
Governor Fallin does not support 762. She says now is not the time to remove her from the Pardon and Parole Board, since DAs across the state raised questions about some of the board's practices. Now, yet another question on the November ballot, 765, would seemingly give the governor more power. It would get rid of the Oklahoma Human Services Commission, which oversees DHS, and that would pave the way for the governor to hire and fire the DHS executive director.